welcome back to another edition of I Prefer the 80s and 90s Sports Podcast. A podcast where I talk about why I prefer the sports of the 80s and 90s to today. It's more of an editorial. I tried to go live a few times on this show, and I don't know how to get people to listen to me other than just do the show and post that I posted, and hopefully someone is listening next time I go live. Which leads me to today's topic. They say information is power. Is it though? The reason why in sports there is an injury report is so that the bookies in Las Vegas, according to the movie, The Last Boy Scout, is so that bookies in Las Vegas could put out betting lines. Some say the injury report is put out to sort of make sure it creates a fair balance in games where you know if said player or players are going to play or not play. In the 80s and 90s, were there sports talk shows? There were. A handful. They started talking about football. They had baseball tonight. Every Sunday, Saturday, you had the shows on college football today, college football game day. Everybody had a show in the 80s and 90s that gave us a few things of information about who's hurt, who can play, who can't play, so on and so forth. Today, we learn about what kind of breakfast cereal they eat. They like Skittles. Who's going to play, who's not going to play. How their mothers influence their game. How their wives, their girlfriends, their boyfriends. We learn so much about sports that, to me, it takes away from the mysteries of game plan, of a team's construction, of a team's destruction, the moves teams make that make sense, make no sense. And I know a lot of people who don't like it, who don't like all this information that we seem to be getting. Because number one, it doesn't always help. I remember a year ago at this time, I was sitting at my table in my home. I had just bought a football magazine that was giving me previews of who's going to win what, college football and in the NFL. And I stared at that page and I tried to visualize every game, every matchup to see just if they are right, that there are going to be teams are going to win 10 games, 11 games, 12 games, 13 games in the NFL, and to see if the college football team was going to win. And I was going to bet money on a couple of teams in Vegas on win totals, but I couldn't find the slip. And then when I found the slip, the guy said, you can't parlay. And I'm like, that's where you make the money. And he goes, no, you can't parlay. Excuse me. And so I didn't do it. I did go to Vegas, and I didn't bet that, but would have won some money because, the Giants last year were favored to win like 6 games. They won 10. There was a few college football teams, however, that would have stumped me. I had NC State winning more games than they did. Clemson kept its streak alive of winning 10 games or more for the last 11 years. And so that kind of stuff is fun. Some of the other stuff, the information isn't fun. Some of the things that are being reported, the stories that are being told, to me isn't newsworthy, and to me makes zero sense. And that's what's happening to football, basketball, and baseball. For the next, I don't know, definitely 2 months, and then probably the first couple of months into the fall, there's going to be conversation about Shohei Ohtani, whether or not he's going to stay an Angel, or whether or not he's going to bless another team with talents. They're going to talk about how his salary should be $500 million. I said $500 million, Holmes. I don't see or believe that there's one athlete playing today that is worth $500 million. No one. The only person that's closest to that might be Steph Curry, might be Michaela Schifrin. Everybody else? No. Baseball players play 162 games during the regular season, and to win a World Series, they got to win an additional 16 to 18 games, possibly. That's 178 games. That's half a year. And so when they get paid big salaries, I never complain. Football players train year-round, but football is only played in 5 months, both college and the pros. But I don't complain when they get big money because their body gets beat up pretty good. Basketball players supposedly are supposed to try to play 82 games, then another 16, 18 more to win the NBA championship. But they don't. They sit out because of load management. Things that we get information about. Then we got Nick Saban yesterday saying, I'm not going to tell y'all who my quarterback is. Gives us kind of an advantage over the next opponent because the next opponent has to prepare for a quarterback. I heard last night the Arizona Cardinals coach say the same thing. I'm not going to tell the Washington football team who we're playing at quarterback. It gives us a statistical advantage. In the 80s and 90s, we didn't care about that information. We didn't get that information. So why is that information front and center in our faces every single day? Somebody needs to explain that to me. We are fascinated by sports. We are fascinated with the things that do with sports. But somebody has to explain that to me. Why we need to know every little thing about every little team. But we don't get information about every little team. We only get information about the same teams. And that's what makes this all tedious. We hear about Shohei Ohtani with the Angels. So what? So what that he is a pitcher and a hitter? So what? His team's still in fourth place. He's winning in the pennant race. Then you want to hear about him. But he ain't in the pennant race. He's in fourth place and not rising. I look at today. Zach Johnson decided to give Brooks Koepka a chance to play in the Ryder Cup. Brooks Koepka left the PGA Tour to join the Rogue LIV League. Zach Johnson doesn't have to give you an explanation because he has the right to choose who he wanted to be on his team. we're going to keep asking him for an answer because it doesn't make sense that a guy who shunned all the things about the PGA Tour is playing in the Ryder Cup. I like the way information was disseminated years ago. You watched the game, the broadcaster told you what you needed to know, and you went about your business. Instead of 50 different shows that argue the same question. Either change your formats, or talking hairdos. Well, get better talking hairdos. I don't have a hairdo, I'm bald. So I sure as heck like to be on one of them shows. I'll get you there.